Academy in Portland, Oregon, in Tiger. And I want to give you what I refer to as sort of the master key to boxing. Boxing is something you can make quick progress in. I like what I've said previously, working with partners will really accelerate you, but in the beginning, you just need good structure in your guard position, and 90% of the time, that's where we see weak areas. Even in professional fighters, you know, I've been hooked on watching Inoue fights since he took down Cardenas the other day. I went back through sort of his fight catalog and was watching stuff that he did. And the guy is super successful. He's a world champion. He's top of his class. But that doesn't mean there aren't gaps or improvements to be made. And one of the things he tends to do is very common in beginners, is that they'll throw a hook or a cross and the other hand will come down. And it's just because we want to sort of generate force, so we kind of oppose the movement in the body like that to try to create it, or we're just not thinking about it. Sometimes I've had a lot of students that are training up, they're on their way to an amateur fight, and they think, oh, my hand is up, and they'll punch it, it'll be like here on the bottom of their chin. So that's the first thing we want to address, is just good guard position. So I've done a bunch of videos on stance, so I don't want to go over all that right now. I want to get to this like master key on just sort of how we can throw some punches. But feet shoulder width apart, turn the rear foot out if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed or southpaw, you can do the exact opposite. And some good advice I've seen is just take a step forward just like you're naturally walking and let the back heel come up. So I want my feet underneath me at the edges of my shoulders. I don't want to be too far out like this because now I lack mobility. I might be able to do that for some solid power, but then the feet are going to need to come back together in order to move again. So the best thing you can do is just sort of have a middle of the road platform. And even in kickboxing, it might even be more narrow so that our legs have the freedom and balance to kick on both sides. Boxing can be a little bit wider because you can maintain footwork and you're not planning on kicking anybody. Okay, so as far as stance, I like what's called just a short pillar cover. So you take your thumb and you want to touch the bottom of your earlobe, and you want to wrap the glove or your knuckle if you're barehanded right over the top row of teeth. If my chin is down and my hand is up, just in this posture alone, I've given myself a lot of coverage. I'm covering my jaw, my chin, covering the face here near the orbital, and I'm covering my rib cage, that floating rib, very susceptible. Over here, we also have the liver shot, can be very, very devastating. So I want to pin that rear arm to the body, and it never leaves unless it's punching. So like if you see me throw a jab, I'm not going to like flare my right elbow. See how my chin is coming up here? So one of my old coaches used to say, you want to have a 3-point cover whenever you fire the punch. So like if I throw a jab, my chin is down, that's 1 point. This arm is in proper placement, that's the other point. And when I extend the jab, my shoulder, not by lifting it up, but by having the chin down and back, my shoulder should cover my face a little bit and give me some protection. Not as good as having my hand up, but it's because we're going on offense at that point. Okay, so what's the master key? Basically, there's 4 main punches that you should have a good understanding of in boxing. And they are a jab, a cross, a hook, and an uppercut. And just by doing some simple combinations, and actually these are from the Inosanto JKD program, you'll cover pretty much all the types of punches that are out there. So there's some variations we could put on them, you know, like uppercut to the head, uppercut to the body, we can make an elevation change. But essentially, you're going to start to build in short order a foundation that's essential for any kind of boxing. And then it's something you can develop just by hitting the bag. You can get creative with it. You can shadow box with it. You can spar with it. And you can come up with your own just by using this structure. Because it's not meant to just, you know, I spar and I just do a pattern. In the beginning, you do that. You think to yourself like, okay, I'm going to throw a double jab. And it takes you time to kind of build up and do it. Oh, I'm going to throw a jab, a cross, and a hook. And sometimes you get interrupted. You're like, oh, what was I doing? All right, I'm going to do it again. Jab, cross, hook. But later, it's on autopilot. Things just kind of like what Bruce Lee used to say, it hits all by itself. And that just means you have so much practice at it that it's on autopilot. And then Then you can devote a little bit of processing power sometimes when you're like, oh, they have an opening here. I'm going to hit him with the overhand right, or I'm going to hit him with that liver shot to the body I was just talking about. All right, so let's get to it. So first combination is jab, cross, hook, cross. So jab, when we throw the cross, I want to sit down. So on the jab, I want to extend my rib cage, finish through the shoulder. The feet do not move. I need a good platform. Now I could step and arrive at the jab, but I'm connected to the ground upon delivery, because the ground is where all the power and torque comes from, is from the feet up. Punching power really comes from the feet. Okay, so when I throw the cross, after the jab, I want to sit down a little bit. Okay, and I can sit down on delivery too. So as the cross comes out, I'm dropping, I'm bending the knee, and I've pivoted my rear leg. Ajahn Chai, my kickboxing coach, he used to say, you always turn the knee towards the front leg. And it's pretty true. I like to throw my back foot out considerably, but my feet turn in a little bit, so that's comfortable for me. It just needs to pivot and drop somewhat. But see how my heel is up, but it's not like this. Remember the ground, connection to the ground. So if some people throw the right and the foot comes up, it's just going to weaken. Okay, so from the front, I throw the jab, I throw the cross. See, I'm sitting and my elbow is covering the center line. It does not flare out, and the body starts to move a little bit. Why? Because again, the foot is starting to shift, the hip is starting to turn, and that brings my right hand on target with the center line. And now it's going to fire from here to the target. Okay? That's going to set up the hook. So I'm going to go jab, cross. Now when I throw the hook, it's not going to disattach from my face. So that's another tell. You'll see people go 1, 2, open it, and then try to go for a little extra power. Most of the time, that's not what you want to do. If I'm standing right in front of somebody, that's an opening for their jab, an opening for their straight, I'm going to get hit. Sometimes if you slip, maybe you can kind of wind up, you can open it, and I should be outside the rear hand. So I have the propensity and the ability to open my shoulder without any kind of consequence. But you don't want to train as if you're always doing that. Those are rare use cases, and you'll figure out how to add more power. Right now, we want to add good mechanics. We want to develop accuracy, and we want to build coordination. Okay, so there's a couple different types of hooks. So I go 1, 2. I sit down on the cross too. See, I sit on the cross, and I've turned because of the pivot. So this side, it's already cocked back plenty, enough. So when I go here, I'm going to start to lift my elbow just as it comes out. My right foot comes in, my front foot is going to turn, and my knee and my hip and my shoulder are going to create one line, and my chin is going to be down. So that way I'm driving, almost like I'm going to push myself this way into the line of power. You can hit it palm down. You want your elbow a little higher than your knuckles, and you always, no matter what punch it is, you want to hit with your pointer knuckle and your middle knuckle. The pinky, when we land on that, sometimes you can get what's called a boxer's fracture. And that just means I miss and I hit with the little finger. That is not supported by the bones of the forearm. If you look at the joint, the pointer knuckle and the middle knuckle, they sort of line up with the radius and ulna in the arm. They're bigger. And then if I hit with the little finger, that bone kind of comes inward right here. It is easy to break that, and I've seen it happen in real life. Okay, it's in the gym. Just people training with hand wraps on even, just totally broke their pinky. Okay, so I want to make sure I hit with the pointer knuckle. That's my emphasis. So then we're here, hook. Okay, so the elbow comes up a little higher. It's kind of like knocking on a door, right? I want my hand to come down like that on delivery. Okay, so jab, cross, hook. Okay, for the finish, right now, all we're going to add is 1 cross. And now you're set up to do a couple different combinations. One other detail on the hook. Some people do not like palm down. That is okay. Sometimes when you hit palm down, especially if you're new at hitting the heavy bag, you can roll your hand. And it's just, getting in practice, developing stability. Maybe you're not wearing a hand wrap, that kind of thing. So if you want to be a little safer, you can go palm up. And some people develop tremendous power going palm up, and that's okay too. Sometimes it'll be a longer range hook, more like a raking hook, like it will kind of scoop like this. But it can be the same exact hook that we just threw, but thumbs up, okay? When you go to the body, you only do that hook because there's too great a chance you're going to roll your hand on their stomach if you hit to the body. So you always hit thumb up when you go to the body, and then palm down again on the cross, okay? So combination work, you're just going to do the same thing. Jab, cross, hook, cross, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And every time, no matter how quick I go, I'm trying to have one hand by my face at all times. So never so fast that it's like jab, opening up, cross, hook, never opening up like that, right? So everything's got to stay compact. And what you'll find is in the beginning, you're going to be a little weaker. You're going to hit the bag and, man, I'm thumping it. In fact, good time to talk about mechanics of the bag. So when we hit the bag, we're not trying to push it. And you can go hard. You know, I can sting the thing a little bit. It looks good on camera, I suppose. But what you really want to cultivate in the bag is a little pop, right? I just want to just sting the bag. See how it rattles a little bit? Okay. So jab, cross, body, hook, cross. So that's the second one. So we just did to the head, leaving from the face with the hook, cross. Same thing for the body. Jab, cross, and sit down. Now I will let it drop, and I'll throw the body hook like that. And then cross. But it's a very short trick. Okay, so jab, cross, body hook, cross. And just a little sting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, I'll go southpaw so you can see it. 1, 2, 3, just like that. 1, 2, just a little bit of a pop. Okay? Let's talk about how we know how close we are to hitting the object or the heavy bag. Same goes for a person. So whenever you hit the target, you do not want to push your punch through the target. You want to create snap. But I don't want to be on the very end of the bag either because it doesn't have any depth to it and it's going to throw off my range for the hook. Okay? So I want to see my glove. If the target is the face of the bag, my range is about from my hand to the end of my glove here, about 6, 8 inches behind the target, right? Bruce Lee, again, he talked about this as early as like the 1960s, and even before that, it's described in the Navy Boxing Academy manual that was written after World War I, in like the 1930s, just before World War II. And so these guys were onto something. So when I line up on the bag, you can even measure, like, am I in range? Okay, good. Cross should be the same thing, okay? But that doesn't mean I'm going to arrive and try to push my punches, because that's another thing that will diminish your power. Sometimes we get so eager to see the bag move that we want to, we want to push it around. But that's not really doing anything either, and it's not going to develop punching power. For the hook, when your cross goes out, if I'm doing a middle range hook, where most boxing takes place, I'm going to have my arm just open past 90 degrees. And again, a good way to measure this is to take your pointer knuckle and your middle knuckle and extend them as far as you can without breaking the connection. So see, if I'm here, now I have my range for the hook. And look how far my cross will go behind it. Because the cross is going to hit the chin. If I'm in a glove, it can hit the nose and mouth area. If it's on the street and I'm barehanded, I'm going to aim at the cheeks. It's going to go 6, 8 inches behind the head. The point of the hook is to hit the chin and turn it, twisting the head, right? So the hook is going to turn the head, and then the cross is going to send it back. And it's actually that action of twist and turn that develops superior knockout power. Now, you might be big enough like Tyson Fury, one and done, right? I'm like, on a good day, I'm like 5'9", 5'8.5", 5'8", whatever. Man, it depends on my shoes, I suppose. I don't have one punch knockout power, especially at the age of 46, right? So combination work can really deliver knockouts. And on the street, it can happen fast because of the bare knuckle. So maybe it's like uppercut, hook, elbow. That might do it, right? Just because there's no protection, like we see in MMA, knockouts happen much quicker. But combination work is important, and I think about, it's really developed in the sport right now. There's some knockout artists like Inoue, who I already mentioned. I think the guy is, 26-0 with 24 knockouts. It's incredible. And the guy just moved up from bantamweight at 122 pounds. 122 pounds. I'm about 175 right now. And he moved up to the 130s when he fought Cardenas and got him with a knockout, right? So we're talking about smaller individuals, maybe 5'4", 5'5", 130 pounds, and they are creating knockout power. But they're doing it with combinations. If you watch guys fighting this fall, I really like him, Terrence Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford, man, I mean, talk about, I think, the best on the planet in his division right now, bar none. I don't think there's any argument. I think that argument's going to be settled in the fall when he fights Canelo. But talk about perfect guard, structured position, perfect footwork, good strategy, but he builds combinations. And it's through those combinations that he has become a knockout artist. And I think the guy's he's closing in on 40 knockouts. It is amazing. And those make for great fights. You want to see stoppages. So let me throw my gloves back on real quick, and we'll get to the uppercut. And I'm also I'm gonna give you ways to sort of mingle in a little creativity with this too. So we did jab, cross, hook, cross to the head, jab, cross, body hook, and cross. And the last one we're gonna do is the uppercut. The uppercut is the most challenging punch to throw, even more than the hook. In fact, that's why you don't see it very often, because you're so exposed when you throw the uppercut. You gotta have a real educated uppercut. So it's just like any other punch. Power comes from the feet. Somebody who had a good uppercut would be like Manny Pacquiao. Had an incredible uppercut. He still got a good one, but 10 years ago when he was a little more youthful, he would spring load the thing and jump up off the ground, right? And when I was a little more youthful, maybe that happens for me too. Okay, so if we think about from the jab and the cross again, jab, cross. My glove is on my face, right? And when we throw the cross through the pivot, I should sit and I should turn and open a little bit. So that means if somebody's taller than me, like if you look at this label on the bag here, right? And I go, ooh, I'm already below the head. I've sunk down from the cross. Okay? So from sitting, now same idea like I showed you on the cross. I want to cover center line first. So the foot is going to start to shift. The hip is going to come around. I'm going to plant my back foot, and the uppercut is going to go dead center, just like here. Now, the thing about the uppercut, it is 90% of the time, depending on range, it is diagonal, right? 90% of the time, it works all the time. That's pretty good, 90%. Okay, diagonal uppercut. That's one of the reasons you see people drop their hands, is because they think of a perfectly vertical uppercut. So they want to go jab, cross, vertical. Jab, cross, vertical. There's no way to throw a vertical uppercut at this distance without dropping your hand, right? So I'm going to go 1, 2, vertical. That's going to be an opening. And what will counter the uppercut is any other punch. So if I lower my hand, I'm susceptible to a jab, I'm susceptible to a cross, I'm susceptible to a hook, just because of this motion. Whereas, when I go like this, and I sort of loop my hook or something, there's only 1 or 2 types of punches that come in. So it's a little safer to telegraph, to lower your hand. I don't recommend it, but that's why you don't get caught as much. But when you throw the uppercut from the hip, any type of punch coming in has the ability to connect, and that is what is so dangerous about it. Okay, remember the hook range with the knuckles touching together, keeping them here on extension. Middle range boxing, my elbow is just open past 90 degrees. My uppercut is the same distance as the hook, as a middle range hook. See, it fits here, it fits here. And again, the cross or the jab is going to be more depth in a straight line. So just maintaining this distance We want a diagonal uppercut. We want to drive from the feet, and we want to sit down a little bit without telegraphing and fire from the chin. So I'll do left and right to give you a different view. So I'm going to go jab, cross, I already sit, and now I just turn. That's it. Uppercut right from my face. Jab, cross, I'm already sitting down. So all I've got to do is a weight transfer and come up. Now there is a time for a vertical uppercut, and that time is what we call bump range boxing. So we use the same measurement. When the hands are connected, that's bump range. In Muay Thai, it's like elbow range. So if I was here, see now I can throw the vertical uppercut and not expose myself because we're touching. I could throw a short hook. I could throw an elbow, right? But it's because the range has changed. So it's just different tools at different times and different places. So allow yourself to throw this diagonal uppercut. See, my shoulder still covers my jaw. Everything comes from the face. In fact, sometimes we'll finish a round, like we'll do 3 minutes, bop, 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 whatever we're doing, and then just vertical uppercut of keeping that mentality. All right, let's review these combinations real quick. Jab, cross, hook to the head. I'll go south. Jab, cross, hook to the body. Jab, cross, uppercut, cross. So we're ending on the cross, and we're just changing the bent arm blow. So jab, cross, hook to the head. Jab, cross, hook to the body, and finish with a cross. Jab, cross, uppercut, cross. That's it. But you could take this and you could make anything with it. You can mix these together, right? I could go cross, body hook, cross, and I could add a knee. Heck, you could add a headbutt. You could add whatever you want. We're just boxing. I could go cross, body hook, cross, and then I could double jab out. Just taking components from these combinations. Or you can stick to the combination. Jab, cross, hook, cross, double jab out. Okay? Double jab on the exit. Maybe double jab on the entrance. Double jab, cross, uppercut, cross, right? Maybe I want to go high, low jab, cross, uppercut, cross, right? So you start to, this is kind of the theme I'm going on for the next couple weeks. You always want to marry and mix structure with creativity. So you do something consistent, something constant. You know, I'm always going to do this combination that I'm working on, maybe for a round or two. All I'm going to do is jab, cross, uppercut, cross. But then I'm going to have a little bit of freedom. Okay, every time I finish a combination, I'm going to add 3 elbows. And they could be the elbows you're choosing, right? You just really get some variety going, right? And so you build on that, but you come back to the constant. And that allows you to develop form, accuracy, speed, and power. But we always need to be a little bit creative. If we only rely on lists, your development will be stifled a little bit. It's almost as bad as sometimes only being creative. You know, there's some people where you're like, hey, your shoulder's got to cover your jaw, your hand is up, and they have a real hard time with it because, like myself, in the beginning, early days training, I wasn't very detail oriented. My wife would probably still say I'm not very detail oriented. It's like a burden of focus. Oh man, your heel's up. Oh, you got to worry about all these things. So some of us have a harder time with structure. Some of us have a harder time with creativity. But think about the best fighters ever, right? Let's say Floyd Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, Tommy Hearns, people that had both. Great structure, man. Think about how creative Muhammad Ali was with his footwork, with his evasions. But, boom, he could sure drop a straight right that looked clean and pristine like nobody's business. And the same is true for more modern fighters, like I mentioned, Inoue and Bud Crawford. And you want to pass that on to yourself. You know, if I'm ultra creative and I can't focus at all, then you just, wild man swinging, you're always going to have holes in your guard and your positions. You're not going to develop as much power, not consistently like people that have a little bit of structure. And if you're too structured, you're like a robot. You don't have answers in sparring because you're like, well, no, I have to get off my pattern number 3 is 1, 2, this, I have to do that. And if it stops, in fact, I had an old sparring partner at a boxing gym I was at, and it was like fighting a guy in Mike Tyson's Punch Out. He was so rigid, he was very easy to read, and he had a tell. And I'm not joking, this is a true story. He would go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and then he would drop the heaviest right hand you'd ever seen. I was probably in my early 20s, and this guy was in his late 30s, and he was like a monster. I think he was an ex-convict. He was just a brutal guy, like tattoos and everything all over. And in fact, he told me he got out of prison. But if you interrupted him before he got here, he would not throw the right hand. And then he would back up and might throw a jab, and he would start the thing over again. It was like fighting bull, it was ridiculous. So the lists are good. The lists are your foundation of structure. Jab, cross, hook, cross. Jab, cross, body, hook, cross. Jab, cross, uppercut, cross. Develop that good form. And then maybe spend a round, you go through by the numbers, right? Okay, I'm going to go left lead and right lead. Jab, cross, hook, cross. Right? Okay, body stop. Okay, uppercut. All right, good. Then I'm going to do that. I'm going to add footwork, and I'm going to add single and double jabs. I might add elbows. I might add knees, right? And then give yourself a round where it's using those punches. Jab, cross, hook, cross, and uppercut. Maybe I go jab, cross, hook, and I uppercut in the rear, right? Maybe I go jab, cross, and I use the hook to get in, and I do go with like a vertical uppercut. And you just freelance for 3 minutes. So you're constantly dipping your toe in that water for structure, but not neglecting your own creativity and not getting into the fallacy of being too creative, where it's like all there is, right? Just like if you were doing any other project, like project around your house, or you're like writing a book, or hey man, can I get your aunt's recipe for that salsa? And they're like, oh yeah, I don't even know what she puts in it. It's just like a dash of this and that. If there's zero structure, it's hard for you to get anywhere. It's hard for you to share it with somebody. But if there's no creativity, right? I want my aunt's like secret salsa recipe because she puts that little anteng in it that's, man, I don't know what that secret ingredient is, but it pops. It's not like my neighbor's salsa verde. It's got this little extra spice on it, right? That's that creativity coming through. But it is always married to good structure. And then when you're sparring, that's pretty much the time to take these attributes and try to get them there with even more creativity. And in the beginning, I wasn't trying to make fun of it or mock anybody. In the beginning, you do have to think, all right, I'm going to take a step and I'm going to jab. I'm going to double jab. I'm just going to try to throw this combination no matter what happens. Because you have to have time to wire it in the muscle memory. You go back to the recipe example. In the beginning, you got to follow it step by step because you don't know what you can impart that's creative without destroying the recipe, right? So you have to, okay, man, all right, we're sparring. Maybe we go a little lighter today, and you have to kind of just do things in patterns. But then you spar, 3 times a week for a good 6 months. You'll start to surprise yourself, and you'll do things on automatic pilot, and you'll have that sensation we all refer to as like, oh man, something just clicked. But then when you're doing drills, you always go back to a little structure because that is how you integrate new things. I love food, maybe you can tell. So let's go back to the recipe one more time. I'm learning the recipe. Bop, bop, bop. Got to do it step by step. Oh, hey, I've made this recipe a couple times a month for a year. Man, it doesn't call for it, but I'm going to throw a little cumin in this time and see what that does. I'm going to add a little spinach to my verde salsa. And you're going to kind of play with the flavors, right? You don't destroy the whole thing, but you add a little creativity. Then you're like, you know what? I've been making verde all year long. I'm kind of bored with that. I'm going to start working with Rioja. And you're like, I've never made that before. So, man, you got to buy new peppers. You got to find a new recipe. The first time you make it, you're probably going to go step by step again. Step by step again. But it's going to take you a quicker amount of time before you start adding creativity to it. And that is really where, like in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, for lack of a better term, where black belts are at. they'll go by the recipe, man. Hey, here's this new move. Oh, I've never seen that submission. Okay, whatever it is, omoplata, gogoplata, doing a new armbar. Well, let me practice that for a minute. You know, I want to do that for about a week. And man, inside of a month, you'll be able to start making tweaks to it. Oh yeah, I like that move, but now I put my knee over your shoulder and it locks your arm in better, whatever it is. And the point where you start getting to creativity is easier and easier because you have this layer of foundation under you that doesn't break anything apart. And then you can really have the freedom to cultivate your own little tricks, your own strategies, your own techniques. But everybody has to start with a foundation. And you cannot name an activity or sport in the entire world that is not like that. Whether I could play cards at the casino, sit down like my student Mike at the poker table. I couldn't hang with him. I need lessons on poker before I could get very creative with it, right? So everything, man, everything starts that way and ends that way. So in martial arts, one of the things I love about it, which is also one of the things that is always a challenge, is you're always learning. You're always adding something new, which for me makes coming to work, makes training in the gym something that's like exciting and invigorating. So, oh man, what am I going to learn that's new today, right? What am I going to add on to that thing? And then bringing that into creative moments and sparring and training and all that stuff. It's, you know, I'll use one more example. If we were just in a class learning how to paint and do artwork, your first rung of classes, right? It's going to be fundamentals. This is how you do a landscape. This is how you do a sky. This is how you draw people. I'm embellishing because I've never taken a whole lot of art classes. But you would go by that structure first, and then one day all of a sudden you become Bob Ross, right? And the guy's like, yeah, I'm just going to draw a tree, and it's a tree I envision. And he can just do it, and it seems magic because it just appears. But the reason it appears like that is because he has all the time spent with the fundamentals and the foundational work to put it to the test. And in martial arts, we never really outgrow that. We add and layer in creative things, but then you're like, man, you know what? I gotta raise my agility +5. It's gonna require you to drill in a way you haven't drilled before. And that means going back to structure before you just get like wild on the creativity. So keep the structure of the combination and then add little things to it. All right, just one knee, bang, that's it, okay? Oh, maybe I'll try to go left-handed. Oh, okay, cool. Bang, bang, right? And then give yourself some time where you have ultimate freedom. So maybe 3 rounds in a row, play with the combinations, add something like sticking to the nucleus. You're adhering mostly to it, but man, maybe this time I'm going to do a double jab. Maybe this time I'm going to move out and I'm going to move in, right? Layer in a little bit of forward. Okay, this time when I finish the combination, I'm going to throw elbows, or I'm going to throw a knee, or 2 elbows and a knee, or a knee and a headbutt, whatever it's going to be. Then give yourself at least 1 round, but it's a smaller percentage, right? In this case, it'd be 25% of your time. Total freedom. Try to come up with jabs, crosses, hooks, and uppercuts, but don't necessarily worry about, am I just really doing the combination? And then that, to me, that gives you the best of both worlds, and it gives you a better attitude about it. It's training isn't such a chore. You're like, hey, I'm finishing with something I like to do that's kind of fun. Anyway, if you guys have any thoughts on training, how you develop skills, how you take something from ground zero and you take it to sort of an expert or a proficiency, a level of proficiency, let me know in the comments. You know, how do you like to train and study and incorporate things that you're working on? I'd like to hear it, maybe to help me discover something new about myself and a new way to train. That would be super awesome. All right, I appreciate you all out there. Warriors, take care. I'll see you soon.